favorite guest of 2023. Biggest winner for 2023. Biggest loser for 2023. I think she only spends like $2,500 a month for her like main social person, plus the photo shoot, which is a couple $100 every quarter. And then she said it takes her about an hour a week to manage it.
This episode of Gym World Worldwide is brought to you by Maraschino Maraschino Cherries.
Yo, man. Hello and Happy New Year, Gym World Worldwide. This is the first ever Gym World Worldwide Recognition Awards show. And joining me today, as always, my partner, Mateo Lopez, looking absolutely gorgeous. Oh, wow. You clean up well. I bet you smell good too. You know, I can smell you from over here.
I did just shower.
Wow, incredible. And we also have a second special guest to help us kick in the new year. It is our boss, Kilo CEO, Khalida Connell, coming in straight from somewhere in Brazil, some basement in Brazil that happens to be painted in Kilo colors. How are you doing?
I'm great. And it is fairly serendipitous that I do have a backdrop like this, but it's worked out pretty well.
It looks like it's part of the K in Kilo and Khalida.
Yeah,
right?
it's it's very nice of Marcos, your Yonsei, to do that for you. So for those of you that don't know, Gym World Worldwide is the media arm of Kilo, which is a wonderful gym management software company that you should go check out today. And so the idea behind having Khalida on the show is we want to continue doing it. And so we want to make sure she gives us lots of room in the budget to bring on all the special guests we want to. But this isn't about next year. This is about last year and celebrating and recognizing the progress we made. So first of all, wonderful year for Kilo, guys. Cheers. Lift them if you got them. Wow. Is that a special glass, Teo? Tell me about that glass.
So this is the third take of the intro. So that's why John already knows knows why I chose this glass, because it's the band Sepultura on the glass. One of my favorite metal bands. For all my metal heads out there, hit me up in the DMs because I love talking about metal. But also, they are from Brazil, and that's where Khalida is right meow. So that's why I chose this glass. I also chose this Corona because I wanted to pretend like we're in the Fast and Furious franchise, because that's how our company is moving right now. It's moving fast. It's moving furious. So can't wait. Happy to be here. Can't wait to talk about all these great awards we're going to give out.
And what are you sipping, Khalida? What are you using to celebrate?
This is Skull. This is
it's moonshine. It's grain alcohol.
Some kind of beer, and the only glass I had was a champagne glass. So feels pretty on brand for Gym World and Kilo, really. So.
Can I see that that can? I want to see that logo.
Looks like it only causes blindness some of the time.
Yeah.
The logo, it looks weirdly like the new Godzilla movie, but anyway. I'll compare those in post.
Marcos was embarrassed to give this to me, and for you guys to know that we're drinking Skull because it's his dad's beer. So,
I mean, his dad sounds like a really cool guy.
Yeah, we accept everybody around here. So, Michter's Old Fashioned for your boy, but you know, people aren't here to hear about our taste in cocktails. They're here for the Worldwide Recognition Awards. So, to kick things off, let's go with favorite guest of 2023. Mateo, you had an interesting pick here. Let's hear it.
Oh, wow. I'm going first. Okay. Well, first of all, I just got to say, it's just an honor to be nominated. It's just an honor to be in the presence of so many great fitness entrepreneurs and fitness gurus. So yeah, it's really just, it's an honor just to be included in this category. But yeah, so this was this was an episode that got no love. You know, this was an episode that the executive producers, the people at Gym World Studio, they didn't want to produce it. They didn't want to finance it. They didn't want to release it. The cancel culture mob also came after me for this because the ideas, they were just too dangerous to put out into the world. But this was one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites because I love history. I think that it is only by looking through our history and learning from it that we can survive the uncertain future ahead of us. So who better to help us with that than an actual strength and fitness historian? So I highly encourage listeners to go back, check this episode out. This is with Dr. Connor Heffernan. And I think it was one of the most unique episodes that we did. So, it's true. You don't get to hear about how a gym owner in the suburbs became a millionaire, but that's okay because there's still plenty of valuable takeaways from this episode.
What was it? What did you learn? What was your biggest takeaway from the episode?
Well, my biggest takeaway was, one, I think that marketing has not really changed when it comes to fitness in the last 300 years. You have these basic tropes when it comes to marketing. I was first sick and I was unwell. And after finding this program or this gym or this particular piece of equipment, I am now fit and healthy. The before and after picture also, I thought was, we talked about that a bit and how old this kind of marketing technique is. And I think my favorite part of the interview was that Connor told us about how, I think he said it was Professor Dowd, I don't know, this guy from the 1870s. He was a fitness entrepreneur, and he used before and after drawings because the photograph hadn't really been invented or mainstreamed yet. So, and it was one of the most impactful things in 19th century fitness entrepreneurship. So I just thought that was fascinating. I love learning about that. And also the other thing that I think was a big takeaway was the looking for X amount of people who want to get Y result in Z amount of time or whatever. That kind of a marketing headline. It's hundreds of years old. And I think it's hundreds of years old. And I think it stood the test of time because it works. And I know there's a lot of people who we've talked to and even coached through when it comes to marketing and Facebook ads that Facebook ads don't work anymore, or this type of language doesn't fit my brand. And I just think it's important to look back and see, well, this stuff's been around. This stuff's not new, and it doesn't need to be new because it works and it's been around forever. And I think another plug for another episode of one of our guests, Jack Wheeler. He's someone who's kind of the perfect embodiment of this when it comes to marketing. He's been running the 6-week challenge, looking for X women to get fit in this amount of time, whatever, for literally years. He has a multi-million-dollar gym. He loves before and after photos. And I think that was one of the main takeaways from that episode.
Yeah, it's the means of delivery changes, but the human psychology doesn't. So whether it's newspapers or Facebook ads or TikTok, it's literally the same thing packaged up just slightly differently over the past 100 years plus. So great choice and great story to back your choice. Incredible. You make me want to go back and listen to it. So,
well, that was the whole point, John.
Oh, wow. We'll link to all these in the bottom. We'll link to all our winners in the bottom.
My pick was Cassie Day. I probably listened to her first episode, because we've had her on twice, but her first episode with building the content for her gym was pretty mind blowing when you really thought about the process that she's put together and how intricate it's really all laid out and how she can get so much done in such a short period of time because she's so prepared with it all. And I just thought it was really eye-opening for a lot of small gym owners who think hey, I don't have a big media budget, or I don't have, a team of people who can shoot videos for me and that kind of thing. It's you don't need that. You need a couple hours on a Saturday. You can rent a space and you can batch it all in one go for a full quarter if you want to. And I thought that was really genius. And I started building my own content calendar off of some of the stuff that she taught on there. And I just wish that I had had some of that knowledge or even that kind of preparedness when I had my gym and trying to produce media for it. So she was my favorite by far.
Always a fan favorite. And, her and I think the Fort guys, Dan Trink and Kyle Fields, have the best Instagrams in the game. But when you talk to Dan Trink and Kyle Fields, they're yeah, well, what we do is we have a producer and we have $15,000 of gear and then we pay this person. I think they're paying, in the first episode, they were paying about $25,000 a month in media, which is more than the average gym makes in revenue. So you hear that and it's a little demotivating. But Cassie, who is doing, just as good of a job, if not better, depending on who you ask. I think she only spends $2,500 a month for her main social person, plus the photo shoot, which is a couple $100 every quarter. And then she said it takes her about an hour a week to manage it. And so, yeah, literally any gym owner could do that.
She's got a great staff too. Her, I follow her just short of obsessively on Instagram. And I know some of her staff because I've been coached by some of her staff, but like they all rally around creating content as well. So they're really excited about it as well, which is, I'm sure, a huge help. But yeah, she's just like all around has a really great process and really good people surrounding her.
Well, people want to learn from people who are a few steps ahead of them, right? So she's probably going to be able to hire a better social person than someone with no social following because she has this massive personal brand and is doing brand deals and doing all this other stuff. And so she's naturally going to be a magnet for people who are attracted to that kind of stuff. So that is one advantage she would have over your average gym owner, but that's not to say that you couldn't pay a little bit more and attract somebody who already had that skill set pre-programmed. But if you want good and cheap, you have to be able to give something in return, which is, be a couple steps ahead of them, have what they want, which is brand deals by Canada Pfizer. So congratulations, Cassie.
The other piece I loved about Cassie's episode was the follow-up piece. I think that's a really important part, and that it's not just producing the content, and that this is going to be a common theme throughout this episode, I think. But it's not just producing the content. It's okay, you've got this awesome content now. People are liking it. People are following your page now. It's the follow-up. It's taking advantage of the leads that you are now generating from the content you are putting out. And so she also made clear that the follow-up process is really important. DMing these people is really important once they follow or like a post, and getting them to come in and schedule is the other piece that I thought was really important from that episode. And yeah, the fact that she's also creating like awesome pieces of content, linking to them in her story. There's just a lot of stuff from that episode that I really loved, and I learned a lot from her speech in Vegas. And yeah, she's a rock star.
Guys, the best part of an old fashioned is the maraschino cherries. You gotta, if you're making an old fashioned at home, you have to spend a little extra money. Like a regular thing of cherries is like $4 or $5. The maraschino cherries, that's going to be like $20, but you got to treat yourself every once in a while, guys. So little pro tip here on Gym World.
This episode of Gym World Worldwide is brought to you by maraschino cherries.
Yo, big maraschino, hit me up in the DMs. My favorite guest 2023, Mike Dalla. So Mike Dalla, if you meet him, he's the most unassuming person. And like, I met him for the first time in 2015, 2016, and he's gotten way swaggier over the past couple of years than he was when I met him. So it was at John Romanella's mastermind, and these were all very successful fitness pros, some in brick and mortar, some in the online space. And I remember there was one prominent person in the nutrition space talking about how he thought he had built the largest nutrition coaching company in the world. And then Mike literally came in as a guest. Like me and him were not in the group yet. We just showed up because we had gotten invited by someone in there. And he's like, I think I need someone to look at my stuff because I don't really know if I'm doing good or not. And like he was doing like $3 million with like 60% margin at the time, which like for literally online macro coaching is insane. With no personal brand to boot. Like this guy to this day probably has like 15,000 followers on Instagram. Like he does not have a massive following. You're never going to see like ab pics from Mike. And he just did it in a way that anybody could do. Like he started working full time in HR. He hated his job. So he was like moonlighting as a nutrition coach, answering DMs. I think he told us at the height he was doing, what was it? It was like either somewhere in the neighborhood of like 100 to 300 clients himself. So he was doing every single check-in email, doing all the social, running the company, all while working a 40-hour-a-week job. So I'm guessing he did nothing at his actual job. And all his marketing was like guerrilla. He just was in every Facebook group. He answered every post. To this day, he's still incredibly active. He is one of the only people who I've seen who uses Facebook to grow a business as good, if not better, than Chris Cooper of Two Brain Business. The man just understands the platform and is able to turn that into dollars. It's just an ATM business for him. On top of that, he sold for 10 to, he didn't tell us the exact number, but if I had to guess, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to $20 million. And he, when you talk to him, it feels like he has enough. right? Which is really rare. So we talked to multiple people who were probably in that 8-figure range in terms of net worth. And a lot of them are just still building, chasing the next carrot. They're still really hungry. Like for him to get that big payday, take a step back, have 6 months to just kind of feel out his family and spend time with his daughters and say like, hey, I'm good, while also just doing a bunch to pay back the community, go on podcast, share his story, was pretty inspiring. Like I definitely fall victim to kind of always chasing the next carrot, always chasing the next carrot. But I do admire people who are able to find some type of balance and get value of something outside of work. Like it's something I strive to do. It's definitely not something that I'm successful at yet. And he's definitely somebody I look up to in that realm where, he was incredibly successful in this tiny little niche in an undifferentiated business, nonetheless, without any of the traditional like check marks you need to succeed at something like that, and had an incredible exit and then realized, hey, I'm going to enjoy life for a little bit now. And I'm really excited to see, like, one, anybody who's interested in nutrition can learn a lot from that. Anybody who wants to do anything online can literally copy that guy's playbook because it still works today. And then two, I'm just like very excited to see what this guy does next. Like he's definitely going to come off the bench here. He's rested. He's relaxed. He's been, I've been texting him a little bit, trying to figure out what it is. He won't give me all the details, but I'm very excited to see what comes of Mike Dalla.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think that just to highlight again, we had dinner with him a couple months after we filmed the episode, and I was just amazed at like he built this thing off of just DMing and responding to people on Facebook, and also starting internet fights, like just starting internet fights with other nutrition people or people saying nutrition advice on the internet on Facebook. That's how he made his money, which I thought was pretty fun to hear. And like you said, John, he sold and is like, yeah, I'm going to spend time with my family and maybe learn to play guitar. I don't know. I was like, yeah, man, hell yeah. That's the dream. That's my dream. Go for it, dude. So yeah, pretty awesome dude. Pretty awesome story. A lot of great lessons in there. So yeah, check that episode out if you haven't.
That concludes Favorite Guest of 2023. Now we are going to move on to Fit Pro you would bet it all on. So this doesn't necessarily need to be a gym owner. It can be a entrepreneur within the fitness industry that if they were like, hey, I'm taking money for my next venture, are you in? You'd say, let me put all my chips on the table because I know they are going to hit it out of the park. Mateo, what you got, man?
I mean, there are a lot of, this was a toughie for sure. There are a lot of amazing people we talk to on the show. There's a lot of amazing people we interact with when we go to conferences or just, in this weird world, gym world, the worldwide world of gym world. There's a lot of people in there. So it's a lot of amazing people. So this was tough, but I just said, let's just keep it simple. Let's just keep it simple, keep it nice and easy, nice and light. And I picked Rick Mayo. And
the master of keeping it simple.
The master of keeping it simple. I did that on purpose there, John. You're right there with me.
I saw that. It didn't go unnoticed.
So he's been running his small group personal training model and perfecting it since 1992, right? It's over 30 years. And that right there, I think, is really impressive. He's franchising now. So I just feel like definitionally, other people are betting on him and his model. People I trust and who I think are smarter than me, like Mark Fisher, are also betting on him, essentially. He's opening up an Alloy soon. And so what I loved about our interview with Rick is that he likes to keep things simple as well, right? So his model, to quote him, is dead simple. It's 1,500 to 2,000 square feet for a facility, 130 to 150 members, one coach in the room at any given time to coach 6 people. For a location, you need 3 employees, a director, a head coach, and a part-time coach. And once you get these up and running, they're spinning off, on average, $500,000 a year in top line, according to him. So, and a lot of these, he says, once they can, some of them, when he opens them, they sell out when they open the doors, right? And you have members paying $300, $400, $500, $600 a month to go and train 3 times a week. So it's just it's an example of kind of what we talked about a lot over this year, small group personal training, smaller classes, keeping it simple, and charging what you're worth. And I just think, I would bet on Rick. Another thing too that I thought was interesting after going back and rewatching some of the episode was an example of just small little tweaks that can make a big difference. Is he calls everything a session, right? When we were doing the episode with Mark, someone said the word class and everyone jumped on it. Like, no, that's a cursed word. You don't call them classes, you call them sessions. And it seems small, it seems simple, but it makes a big difference in the brand, right? There are pricing anchors to the words, like a word like class, right? You think of like pottery class or free class or whatever, but a session is different, right? A session, it's tying these things to personal training so that people understand what they're paying for is personal training. And so, I think I learned a lot from that episode, and I'm excited to see what happens next with Rick and with Alloy as they start to take over the world.
And I think it's a testament to Rick's model that we talked to maybe half a dozen other gym owners that were doing something very eerily similar to Rick, with varying degrees of success. If you see a lot of people copying a certain type of model because it's working, never a bad idea to go to the source, right? Like, you'd rather bet on Greg Glassman than, Jim Jones, which was like the other person who was doing the same thing at the same time, but they were like second, So yeah, a great pick. Love it. Khalida, who'd you have?
Well, I tried not to repeat myself here, but I had to. Cassie Day is somebody that I would bet on and bet on all day long. I know. I think I have a problem.
She's taken. I think she's dating someone, Khalida. You can't. I
know. I love her.
If it doesn't work out, I'll let you know.
A 2-time guest on the show, 2-time award recipient. Wow.
Yeah. I just think that like people, like I said, I've been trained by some of her trainers and when they were at a different gym and they've flocked to her, like anybody that can bring people like that. And this person was a great person and bring people like that to her. Like, I think good people and smart people attract other good and smart people. And so I think she's somebody that, like, not only is she smart with the way she launches programs, like she just doesn't do like an open enrollment. It's like programs that start on specific days. I think that's really cool. So you can build a lot of hype around it. I've been past her studio or the place that she trains out of. It's beautiful. And it's really like the whole model is really interesting. And I just think like, with the fact that she's got like this outstanding personal brand, she lives all of the values that she talks about in her gym. She does a great job with cross promotion. People just want to be around her and be around her trainers. And so I think the way that she's priced herself, the way that she runs her business, and the way that her media game is, like I would bet on her.
Me too. I'd also bet on you, Khalida. I'm excited for 2024.
Yeah, if we ever get an opportunity to, run a business, I would probably put Khalida in charge.
Who'd you pick, John?
I picked Lindsay Van Schoik. So
interesting.
I first met Lindsay and her husband Matt at a Two Brain event in New York City in, when was that, Teo? 2019. We went to Tecumbe after, and
okay,
it was 2019 because you were still in your apartment.
It was really cold that night. Really cold.
Yes. And I sat across the table from Matt and Lindsay, who were I think they were like just getting started in their business, like maybe a year or two into gym ownership. And I remember leaving the dinner not impressed, like not thinking that, okay, these guys are going to take over the world. And then they kind of like fell off of my radar, and through the grapevine, someone was like, hey, you got to talk to Lindsay. Because I hear she's like secretly killing it behind the scenes with this nutrition thing she has going on. And we brought her on the show, and a couple of things came very apparent within an hour of talking to her about business. So a reminder, the dinner that I met them at, it was pretty like surface level stuff. It wasn't like, let's talk about business. And the thing that I see in Lindsay and I don't know, I'm assuming Matt embodies similar values, husband and wife, just a safe thing to assume, was she's incredibly coachable. So she was able to take everything from that Two Brain curriculum, implement it, and see a high level of success within their gym in a very short amount of time. I believe they won one of the Two Brain Awards for being like their equivalent of the Rookie of the Year, basically like the best progress within a 1 year period. They won that award. And so there's something to be said about just like paying for speed and then doing exactly what the coach tells you until your business is larger than the coach's, right? And she did that not only once with her gym, but then when she started this coaching business, she told us she spent like $70,000-$80,000 on mentorship and did the exact same thing over again, went 0 to 200,000 in monthly revenue. I think that was around the level she was doing when we spoke to her. Like she was pushing to, or maybe she was doing a 120 and pushing to 200, I think it was. And that was within like an 18-month period of just going from dead start to there, doing nothing but just doing exactly what she was told, finding someone who did it, following the blueprint, and executing like an absolute machine. And I've had this conversation with Matteo and Mark a lot, just like there's something to be said about like not getting in your own way. Like some of these entrepreneurs that we speak with who are very talented, very smart, they're less rich than I think they otherwise would be if they just stopped thinking they were a special snowflake and, you know, trying to recreate something new rather than just taking the blueprint that's worked, running with it, and just executing better than anybody else. The second reason why Lindsay Van Schoik would be a hot ticket is she is in a hot niche. Like she is selling lifestyle coaching, like an elevated lifestyle coaching program to women who are going through menopause, which is a time in your life where you have a lot of money, you want to spend it, and you want to feel better about yourself. And two, like it's a time where you can impact a lot of change in someone's life to, you know, make them feel good, give them that little extra bit of confidence, you know, coming off the bench, rejuvenating yourself, making yourself feel nice in that pool weather. You know, somebody in Florida, you know, having that pool confidence is very important. And so I love that niche, and I think she embodies it, and she's not afraid to put herself out there. So she's posting content. I think she told us she's posting on her Instagram account twice a day. She's posting her workouts, you know, she's posting the ab pics, all those type of things that are, you know, this is difficult to do when you're not a 18-year-old influencer, you know. And I, as a 36-year-old guy, you know, the older you get, the harder it is to post shirtless pics, you know? And so I respect that. She gets it done. She finds the playbook, she executes it to a T. And I think people who have that skill set will be successful over and over and over again. And I think a lot of times these are people who people don't bet on those type of people. You know, if you don't interview, if you don't come off that first impression as someone who's like an absolute shark. So, you know, I would consider her like a diamond in the rough.
Wow. Incredible.
All right. On to the next one. So we talked about our favorite guests. We talked about the Fit Pro. We bet it all on. Now let's talk concepts. Let's talk models. What is the gym concept or general fitness concept you'd bet it all on in 2024? Matteo, take it away, my friend.
Well, first of all, I have to just clarify, this is not financial advice. All right. I am very bad at investing. I'm also very bad at becoming rich. I've been trying for many, many years, and I just have not succeeded. I haven't been able to kick back, learn guitar, and hang out with my family. So I'm still looking for that. But if I had to bet, I have these two categories here: short-term bet, any model that involves drugs. Any model that involves drugs for the short term, I think is a good bet. So yeah, any model involved with GLP-1s. I had to Google this, but GLP-1s are drugs that mimic the action of a hormone called glucagon-like peptide 1. So this is obviously used to help with diabetes, but recently people have been taking things like Ozempic to help with weight loss. And you're seeing this being incorporated not just in businesses like Weight Watchers or Loom, but Also, brick and mortar players are starting to get involved with these things like Lifetime and the exponential brands. They're also getting involved in the weight loss drug game. And so, yeah, I do think there's a lot of money moving in that direction, and you're going to see this stuff get incorporated in actual physical gyms. So yeah, I'm a little bullish on that in the short term, but in the long term, like a real actual bet, yeah, back to my boy Rick Mayo and Alloy. Really big on that as well. Excited to see more small group personal training fitness studios open up across the country.
When we were deep in the GLP-1 hole, I did some research on med spas. So do you know what a med spa is, Matteo?
No.
What about you, Kalita? Can you explain what a med spa is for the male viewers?
Sure. So as far as I know, no, it's one of those spas that you go to that like should enhance, let's just say enhance your natural beauty. So you can get things, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you can get things like injections and facial enhancements and what's the where you like freeze the fat off your body?
Yeah, it's like spot cryo.
Yeah. So things like that.
I just also want to know, I'm starting my Ozempic treatment later this week as my 2024 weight loss goals. I'm getting on the juice so I can keep drinking beer. That's really I don't want to work out anymore in 2024, but I do want to take shirtless pics. And so Ozempic is, I think, going to be the play for me.
I applaud you and support you in your journey. Looking forward to following it. Matteo for business if anybody wants to follow along. It's going to be vlogging daily. So yeah, these med spas, they all have, or I don't want to say they all, but a lot of them are starting to offer GLP-1. So they'll find someone who can write the scripts, and then, they take a piece of that pie, or they charge for the actual script writing. There's a bunch of different ways you can monetize it. But like Matteo said, we're starting to see larger fitness chains incorporate med spa-like treatments into their service offering. And I think that will continue to be popular, especially on the higher end of things. I think a lot of people think it's going to disrupt every single industry ever. I don't necessarily feel that bullish about it. But it's definitely a concept. If someone had a hot little med spa with some type of fitness component tied to it, I would definitely be interested in betting something like that. So I thought that was a great choice, Matteo. Kalita, who'd you have?
I like Alloy a lot.
We like Alloy. We like the stock.
Yeah.
We just like the stock.
We like the stock, Rick Mayo.
Yeah. I listened to that podcast probably twice because I've sent it to a lot of people because I've said, like, if I was ever to open another gym, which I'm not sure if I would, but if I did, it would be something like that, or it would be Alloy. And then, you follow up on it and you hear Mark Fisher's going all in on it. And so I think like what Matteo said, like these really smart people are opening Alloy and they're beautiful. They're everything about it, like the concept, like where they set up shop, their target demographic, how specific they are with the language that they use. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's, super simple, which I love. And I think it's like they are growing so fast. Like if you follow them on Instagram, like every day you've got new locations opening almost. So it's something that I think we should watch. And if anybody wants to open up a gym and they need somebody to help them and they're in Toronto and they like Alloy, like just hit me up.
So I did not choose Alloy, and there's a reason for that. And that reason is, even though it is a very lean staff, you still need two well-trained professionals to show up every single day and deliver consistent coaching. And Matteo, you and I owned 5 gyms together. Kalita, you were a gym owner yourself. You know how difficult it is to show up, offer 6 to 8 classes every single day, and make sure, the soup tastes the same for the 5 a.m. class and the 5 p.m. class. So at scale, I think it's tough. If you're going to open 100 to 200 units, making sure that class is the same in Spokane as it is in Wichita, stuff. And then same thing, like it's a shallow bench. We talked to everybody who's running this model and said, what happens if they get sick? And the response we got was, well, they don't get sick.
I will say that we asked this quite a few times throughout the year. What happens if someone gets sick? And the answer was always just a little bit unsatisfactory every time. But keep going, John.
So yeah, while the optics look good, this idea of like you open a gym, the top line's 500, you keep 200, you're mitigating risk, you're in this anchored plaza, like everything sounds good. And as an owner operated model, I do agree that's something I would probably choose if I wanted to go the coaching route again. But again, 2022, my concept was Planet Fitness. 2023, the concept I bet it all on is still Planet Fitness.
Oof, wow.
It is inexpensive. And everyone's broke, and I think everyone will continue to be broke. And I think if you are somebody who is coming off the bench, there are way more people who don't go to a gym than people who do go to a gym. And, you start with a starter gym. You don't start with the most expensive one. You don't start with that $10,000 package. Some do, but for everyone that does, there's 20 that are like, I'm going to try the back and buys program. Like, did you guys start with the like women's fitness, men's health, kind of the back of the envelope, Dan Trinks, big arms, kind of? Insanity. That's how you start training.
Yeah.
As coaching gym owners, like a lot of times we're delusional and say that's evil and like not the best thing. But the reality is like those people at least 10 years ago had the biggest reach. And I think now the equivalent of that is just following some program that an influencer does on YouTube or TikTok. And where are you going to do that? You're going to do that at Planet Fitness for $10 a month. They're going to upsell you on the black card. You're going to do $20. You're going to get the showers. You're going to get the free pizza. You're going to get the bagels. You're going to get the massaging chairs. And you're going to love it. The value is there. You really can't beat it, right? Like I'm going to a tiny gym near me. It's $90 a month. And I get less cardio equipment, less machines. It's clean, albeit, but like the value is nowhere near what it would be if I drove 10 minutes further away and went to a Planet Fitness gym. There's a huge network. You can do them everywhere. You don't need excellent coaches, right? You're never going to see a Planet Fitness website where they're saying our differentiating factor is our incredible coaching. And that's great because as we've talked to multi-location owners and large gym owners, one of the most frequent things that we hear from them is that finding, training, retaining, compensating good staff is the most difficult thing that they run into over and over and over again. And Planet Fitness doesn't have to worry about any of that. You got a body at the desk. You're ready to train 7,000 people in whatever local area you're in. And so for that reason, I still love Planet Fitness. Sound the lunk alarm.
I gotta say, no, it's compelling. I almost picked it as well. Some recent class action lawsuits that kind of got me a little spooked for Planet Fitness. But I do think you make a lot of great points.
The CEO got in trouble because he had some kegs. He used his corporate card. He bought a couple kegs, but our CEO's drinking beer on the podcast. We're not going to fire her.
It's true. Not yet. It's true.
Yeah, no, we're not. I don't hold it against him. They transitioned out. He sold all his stock the next day. Happens all the time.
No harm, no foul.
Happens to the best of us. Generational buying opportunity. All right. Well, we talked about the concept, the Fit Pro. Let's go a little narrower, maybe go outside of, the brick and mortar gym concept and let's pick our biggest winner for 2023. It can be a brand, it can be a concept, it can be an influencer. The sky is the limit here. Cleta, who'd you have?
So I picked Cassie Day.
Get out of here.
No. No, I didn't. No, for me, I picked like the sauna, ice bath businesses. So things like there's this place I went to in Montreal, and it was like this huge spa, and it had like it's called Bota. If you ever go there, and you do like the steam room and then the pool and then the cold plunge. And it's like a whole cycle that you do. And it was packed. There's a couple of locations in Toronto called Othership, and it's like a whole experience. And they have things that you can do with your partner or by yourself. And it's like, can be a guided experience. And it's becoming more and more popular. I mean, I've seen Mateo and John in an ice multiple times, sometimes together. Sometimes.
Blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah. But I do think that while it's kind of niche, I do think that it's a pretty cool concept. And I think, it's done really well. And I think it'll probably continue to do well.
Humans crave touch, you know. The partners that ice bath together stay together. That's what they say. Teo, who'd you have?
I had Kalidas for another category. So for me, I actually did go narrow.
As did I.
I did I did go narrow. I looked back at our guests, and I think the biggest winners are Dan Trink and Kyle Fields of The Fort. And I just think it's amazing that they've gone through just really an insane journey. They were kicking ass, doing small group personal training in New York City, one of the tough, probably like arguably the toughest market in the world. And they got rocked by COVID. They had to lay off some key staff members. They had to close one of the locations. And then, like a phoenix out of the ashes, they changed their entire marketing strategy. They went all in on producing content. They purchased tens of $1,000s of film and video equipment and didn't even know how to use any of it. I'm just going to go to Best Buy, buy a bunch of stuff. We'll learn how to use it. And with their new marketing strategy and the new content strategy, they came back, they grew, they opened up, and they were able to open up their HQ location, right? Dan said it was like a dream come true for him to take over. They had the original location. They had another location across the street running a slightly different concept. It was more like a cardio-based one. And then he wanted to take over that entire building. They had the top floor. They wanted to do the bottom floor as well. And that's where he would create his headquarters for the Fort as they go and plan their world domination. And they pulled it off. I was there recently in New York. I got to see it in person, and it really is beautiful. It's an amazing facility. They have a loft upstairs where the staff can meet and hang out at the desks. And there's, now there's space to store all their camera equipment. And again, so they have the bottom floor with the gym, the loft for all the staff, an upstairs cardio room for what they call the engine room. And again, it's across the street from the original location, so you can go right over there, check on things, run classes. And for their uptown location, they're on the same side of town, subway just 12 minutes uptown, and it's pretty magical. So I just think what they were able to accomplish, it's an amazing goal. They were able to do it. And again, it's notable because it's another example of people with a really, really simple model, right? 4-person classes, 100 people per spot, paying $800 a month. Everyone's on the same programming. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story, beautiful people, beautiful space.
Yeah, Dan and Kyle are just guys you want to win. You just root for Dan and Kyle. And, we believe in them a lot. We believe in them so much that we said, hey, to staff your uptown location, you should hire our friend Ashkan Amir Soleimani.
We have a sleeper agent there.
Yeah, who was previously a Kilo employee, previously a Two Brain employee, previously a partner in Mateo and I's gym chain. He was with us every step of the journey. And, the man still wanted to do squat cleans, and he wanted to train push presses and teach the people good movement. And so we offered him up to Dan Trink on a silver platter. And
it was a sacrifice.
And he hasn't been fired yet. So, great job, Ash. And congratulations, Dan, on getting a grizzled veteran in the training space. So, Kalida, you talked about the actual sauna ice bath gym, like this concept where you gather around getting really hot or really cold. I just had the actual people who made ice baths at home, particularly Plunge, who were the people who, kick this trend off. Like these guys, they didn't have a business pre-COVID. So both guys were brick and mortar. They were doing exactly what you called out as the biggest winner. So the one guy, I think, owned a float studio in San Francisco. The other guy owned like a sauna studio in San Francisco, which, had some of the most harsh COVID regulations, so absolutely decimated their business. They were advocates and they were big Wim Hof fans, and they were used to getting cold and doing cold plunges for a while. At the time, there were really only two options. You could do like the feedstock tank, or you could buy the big Morozko fancy plunge for $20,000. And they decided somewhere in the middle market here, you can create a nice product for about $5,000 to $7,000. And they did exactly that. First year, I think they were in the thousands, and then 8 figures the second year. Third year, they went on this podcast recently, or they provided information to a podcast recently that I listened to. They're going to do over 100 million this year. So they're on a $100 million plus run rate. And most of that is done through influencer marketing. So on the Gym World newsletter, which if you don't get, go subscribe to it, we've talked a lot about how influencer marketing has grown multiple billion-dollar brands in the fitness space. The most notable is probably Gymshark. They're the people who really pioneered the concept, bought that cheap attention, and turned it into an absolutely monstrous brand. We've talked about Christian Guzman and Alphaland, who was able to take the same playbook and turn it into an incredible brick and mortar location, along with Alpha Elite, which is a clothing brand that does about 9 figures. Plunge took the same playbook and did it for cold exposure. They said they gave away over 1,000 plunges to influencers. And this was like when they launched, it was right around the time that Peter Attia, Andrew Huberman, Tim Ferriss, all these like longevity and like health optimization gurus started really talking about it. And it was also COVID. You're like sitting at home. It's like, yeah, I'll sit in an ice bath for 3 minutes. I got nothing else to do. Just whatever. And like people just started posting about it. You follow fitness people, like you both follow fitness people. I'm sure your feed is littered with people making social posts from an ice bath. Matteo and I do it all the time. It's great. Sometimes together, as Kalita said, and it does well. It does well. That's why people do it. It does well. So to go from no business to $100 million in a 3-year period is absolutely insane. Selling $5,000 bathtubs, which is crazy, and primarily marketing by giving bathtubs away and doing Facebook ads. So I get them all the time. They're good. They're pretty good. It's an incredible success story. So, we're building Kilo. We started a little later, but around the same time as them. And for them to have, $100 billion in sales, I'd imagine that's a $300 to $600 million valuation in that range on that little of a time is incredible. So they are my biggest winner.
Congratulations, cold plunge. I was going to say cold plunge, but
that quarter of kicking in there.
I remember that the brand was just called Plunge, so I stopped.
That should tell you how much the Kilo team drinks. Tail's got 3 ounces in him. Can't tell the Plunge team to come pick up his award.
Yep. All right.
Congratulations,
sign off here, guys.
Plunge.
Okay, yes, there you go. It's not so bright now. I just couldn't
turn the lights down. Yeah, let's turn the lights down because this is a serious category. We're going into a serious category right now. Biggest loser for 2023, Matteo. Who do you got?
I don't. I was going to conscientiously object to this category. I don't believe in putting people down.
I felt the same.
And again, I want to reiterate, not financial advice. But yeah, I did pick Web3 fitness apps. We actually spent a whole episode, or a good chunk of an episode. This is back in the old days too of the show, talking about crypto and Web3 related fitness apps and concepts. And while crypto is having, from what I can understand, a bit of a surge right now, Bitcoin seems to be up. I do think that it is notable that big money moves in the fitness space are not so much with crypto related things. AI is obviously the new hotness. Drugs are obviously the new hotness. And I think we talked about STEPN, one of the apps we talked about. ASICS tried to partner up with them. It's a Web3 fitness app. And I do think that it's notable that Nike, also a fitness shoe place, is creating fitness equipment and opening brick and mortar gyms. So I thought that was kind of notable. Holistic health is growing. These recovery kind of concepts that Kalita mentioned, that's growing. Preventative healthcare is growing. Anthony Venari, who was a guest on one of our other episodes, check that out if you haven't. He and his brother, they created Fit Insider, and he's a guy who tracks all this stuff. He tracks the industry trends. He tracks where money is moving in the fitness industry. And looking at this past year, looking at his newsletter, just not a lot of Web3 on there. A lot of, like I said, drugs and holistic health and preventative care, but not a ton of crypto Web3. So I do think that they're one of the losers in 2023. But 2024, who's to say? Anything's possible.
Kalita, you probably have to start by saying sorry because you're Canadian. Who is your biggest loser?
Well, and this does come from a Canadian perspective too. So I think
I thought you were saying this does come from a place of love. This comes from a place of love. Yeah.
Well, that too. But I've seen a lot of small, specialized boutique fitness businesses close this year that I didn't expect to close. They call it like the pandemic hangover, where we're seeing like these businesses that were able to hang on after we opened or after everything reopened again, especially in Canada, because the lockdowns were particularly harsh. Not quite as harsh as Australia, but like particularly harsh in the world. And yeah, we're seeing this lingering hangover where these businesses just like they were able to make it a year past everything opening, and now they're just starting to close. It's really heartbreaking. And it's happening to like spin studios and yoga studios, like these really specialized places. And yeah, like I said, I've seen it in Toronto. And a lot of the times I don't know for sure, like each and every business is like why they're closing and that kind of thing. But the COVID loans that they were given during the pandemic are now required to be paid back in the beginning of this year. So I think we're going to start to see even more of this over the next year. But it was really heartbreaking for me to see like the yoga studio down the street and the spin studio around the corner from where I live, just all of a sudden, like doors were locked. They weren't allowed in their building. They were behind on rent and they had multiple locations. So yeah, unfortunately, those are the biggest losers on my list for 2023.
I can attest that we are seeing a lot of keys change hands from the two-brain front, people looking to buy gyms, people looking to start gyms from scratch out of closed gym spaces. Yeah, we're still feeling the effects of COVID. A lot of people think that's past us and over, and there's been this huge resurgence in brick and mortar. But like the reality is like that money that we borrowed, and Kilo included, you got to pay that back. That's a loan. You know, it wasn't free money. So a lot of people, you know, PPP was free money. But if you took like an EIDL, what was the Canadian equivalent? The one that you got to pay back?
I was trying to rack my brain for the name of this, and I can't remember, like CERB, that's wrong. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
There's a Canadian equivalent, but same thing. And a lot of those payments are starting either end of this year, end of last year, beginning of this year, 2024. And so people are going to feel that extra money coming out of their bank account. And as we've talked about many times on this show, the average gym owner is on the brink of financial collapse. You know, they're in a precarious space, and it's been a difficult operating environment for the last 3 or 4 years. So if you weren't someone who was in a good spot going into COVID, you were probably in a much worse spot now, even if you have bounced back to 2019 numbers.
Pour one
out. What about you, John?
For all those fallen soldiers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, John?
For me, I had the VP of Affiliates and Operations, Jay DeCoons.
Oh.
And
wow.
So this
of what?
guy...
VP of what, John?
affiliates and operations for CrossFit HQ.
For CrossFit.
Yeah.
So this guy's had a tough go of it, right? So CrossFit gets bought out. Eric Rosa partnered with Berkshire Partners, a large private equity firm. Eric Rosa stops working for CrossFit. Don Fall takes over as CEO. They're in a precarious place, and they're looking to change. They got to shake stuff up and make a little more money out of the affiliate base. And you got this guy, Jay DeCoons. He went to Notre Dame. He went to Harvard Business School. He worked for YogaWorks, the Bar Method. He's used to dealing with a lot of large organizations, and he's used to dealing in the fitness industry with concepts that have a lot of locations. So, if you're a private equity overlord looking at this resume, it seems like a perfect fit to come lead the affiliate community. So you hire this guy, and then you got friends of the pod, Andrew Hiller and Savan. They see this guy and say, he's not one of us. He doesn't have a level 1, a level 2. He never owned an affiliate. He doesn't understand the culture. And they start making videos about this guy, and he basically shows up to day one at his new job in a state of crisis where the community is basically revolting, right? You have two of the largest influencers, two of the largest media voices in the affiliate space talking about why this guy is a terrible fit. And if they were CrossFit owners, they would be out of the system because this is just so out of touch with what CrossFit is. And the guy hasn't even done a day of work yet. So he was just like in a very difficult space. And then he starts his job. And, I think it was about a month later, CrossFit goes, hey, your affiliate rates, they're 50% more expensive now. Thank the new vice president at CrossFit, the global affiliates and operations guy, Jay DeCoons. And so I'm sure this price increase was in the works for a long period of time, but it just happened to happen very shortly after Jay DeCoons took his seat. I think private equity view investments on a 5-year time horizon, just based off of the, some of the people that we've been speaking with, and that's when they like to flip it and turn it around. They got to show something for that. And there's no better way to increase the revenue of a business than do a price increase, especially if there's not new affiliates coming in. We've talked a lot about how it seems like at the beginning of last year, the trend was going down. And then we've since talked since then that it's stabilized. Matteo and I went to the games, Kalita as well. And it felt very similar to pre-COVID. It felt like the 2019 affiliate lounge. It felt like there was stuff going on, but there's definitely not growth happening. So in order to kind of extract more money from the system, you got to do something. You got to sell software, you got to sell mentorship, you got to sell certifications, you got to increase the prices. And they went the price increase route. And it was ultimately this guy's hanging there. If they need a face, if they need somebody, they need a cut because so they need a scapegoat for some strategic blunder. I would bet my bottom dollar that the first guy getting cut is Jay DeCoons. He started in a tough spot. So, I have no idea whether he's good or bad at his job, but it sounds like the guy was not given a chance. As people who deal within the CrossFit community a lot, what do you guys think?
I don't think Jay DeCoons, I don't think you are a loser. I don't think you are a loser. But
the man's a winner. You go to Harvard, you're a winner.
You took
well,
some
not anymore.
shots.
People don't like Harvard. Harvard was the biggest loser of 20. Yeah, might be the biggest loser of 2024. Still.
Yeah, could be. Not starting off the year strong, but I would say, Jay DeCoons, I don't think you personally are a loser, but I do think you took some shots. You took a beating, maybe took an L. But hey, don't let that define you. I don't define you by that. So you shouldn't either.
His whole the whole story you told just gives me massive anxiety because it can happen to anybody.
It can happen to any of us.
Yeah.
Well, I missed a very important part of the story. So one of the reasons why
did people not like him, John?
I might have missed the most. Well, they didn't like that he didn't come from the community. But
did he say something?
Yes, in a 2018 panel in South by Southwest. He said that CrossFit is dangerous, right? So he basically said, let me see if I can find. Yeah, I forgot about this. And it's probably the most important part.
That's the one thing that affiliate owners and CrossFitters alike hate to hear.
Yes.
I feel less anxiety now.
Yeah. are asked about at-home fitness and efficacy and safety components that come along with the decision. Okay. And it just seems really unsafe was his exact quote. And so that's tough because we say crazy shit on this podcast all the time. And so 5 years down the road, our opinions might change. And if someone clipped that one sentence and held us to it and thought like, there's no way this guy's opinion could change over a 5-year period. Or like maybe he came into the job thinking CrossFit was dangerous. And part of his job is to, I am sure CrossFit would love to standardize operations. That is something we have heard from HQ and people who work for HQ. They have said that they are focused on making sure that the sauce tastes a little better. It's a little more consistent across CrossFit A, B, C, and D. They've mandated that affiliate owners have at least a L2 certification. Some people see that as a money grab. Some people see that as like, okay, they want to make sure that the service is good. We talked to Andrew Charlesworth, who is the Midwest regional rep. He came on the podcast, wears his Kilo hat all the time. We appreciate that, Andrew. And what was the story he told us about the California affiliate meetup? And it's like, raise your hand if you would send your mom to an affiliate, just based off of like, if I pointed at one on the affiliate map, raise your hand if you would send your mom there not knowing anything about it. And like nobody raised their hand. And like, that was a defining moment. And he said HQ is thinking about that a lot and wants to make sure that like people feel comfortable sending, a normal person off the street to an affiliate, which I get it. That seems like a very smart thing to do. But yeah, that's tough to get ripped apart from something you said 5 years ago on a panel. Tough spot for Jay DeCoons, and we'll pour one out. We'll have a little drink for him so we close the segment.
Just like the sound drop, this episode's going long.
That concludes the first part of our 2-part series, the Gym World Worldwide Recognition Awards Show. We're going to take a break here, and we will produce the next 5 categories for our episode next week. We thank you for listening, Gym World. We love you. Cheers to you. We appreciate you so much.